Okay, we're officially in the second week of the season launch, and believe it or not, yes, there are now even more brand new ways in getting gear that can potentially shoot up to 619 item level and even higher, potentially reaching 626. Not only that, there's a massive mistake 99% of players are making right now that is causing them to waste dozens of hours that we're going to jump into later on in the video, so stick around. Starting off with the easiest way to get a ginormous item level spike is going to be from doing the story mode version of Nurabar Palace. Yes, you heard that correctly. This is a brand new difficulty for the latest raid called Story Mode that you can do entirely solo that awards you with up to a 619 item level piece of gear, so get ready for this. It starts with getting a quest from Webster in Dornegal right before you go down into the long tunnel into the Ring Deeps, and he gives you a quest called Our Chance to Strike, where you will then go to Ashkahet, turn it in at the City of Threads, where you then begin a pretty small quest chain. Complete this quest named A Spy Like Us, and then immediately after that, complete Defense of the People and Make Them Pray quest. Then after that, you'll get your final quest called A Shot at the Top, and then after that, you will actually get the quest that you really need called To Kill a Queen. So if you're confused, I labeled it on the screen here, the quest that you need to complete. Only do these and you should be good to go. Once you get to kill a queen, you simply talk to the NPC located on the minimap, press the dialogue option, and boom, you're good to go and you're inside of the raid completely solo. From here, you defeat Queen and Sarek on the story mode difficulty with a bunch of NPCs, which I thought was really awesome, and then you're rewarded with your enchanted rune Harbinger Crest, which can be used at the crafting order system or in your own profession if you have the needs for it to create a 619 piece of gear. And I'm constantly seeing players walk around with 619 pieces of gear, and it's all because of this. Now, something interesting that the game actually doesn't directly tell you is that you can acquire more of these. Pretty much the idea is it's the same fashion as you would receive the lower tier Harbinger quest previously that awarded you with 590 item level during the first week of the game's launch, which was pretty massive at the time. The idea is that you copy and paste the method at a higher item level tier where you have to transfer your runes that you earn from completing mythics near the enchanting vendor in Dornegal to where you will earn the nascent runed Harbinger Crest, which will once again you turn it into a crafting order for the 619 loot, and bam, you're good to go. So if you're walking around wondering how the hell everybody has all this 619 item level gear, this is easily one of the biggest ways. Do note, of course, in order to craft this gear, it does require a spark, and at this point, your character should at least have 1 or 2 already made, or maybe even 3. I know there are a lot of players out there that haven't even used them or don't even know what to do with them, so if you're a little bit confused, this is absolutely what you should be doing right now at this point in the game. If you have some sparks left over or you're about to make one, craft this 619 piece of gear and you'll be on your way. Moving on now to, by far, I think the easiest and most mandatory way to get loot this week is doing the Burning Crusade time walking event. This is only going to be here until the 24th of September, but boy oh boy, if you haven't already, you have got to run Black Temple. Something a lot of players overlook as well is that you can actually grab both the quests, one of them being in Dornegal at the weekly questing hub, as well as the other one in Shattrath in the Burning Crusade, and complete both of them at the same time for finishing the Black Temple raid. Do not go run regular time walking dungeons, it's a waste of time. You can do both of these at once by just running the raid. One of these chests gives you a guaranteed 610 heroic item level piece of loot, as well as another quest giving you a 597 item champion piece of gear automatically. Not to mention, in the raid, all of the items that you can acquire from there are all 597 item champion piece gear that you can upgrade all the way up to 619. All of the bosses in here are actually very trivial, and it's nice to just go through the raid. I mean, if you have no idea what you're doing, listen up, because simply all you do is go to the Looking for Group tab and go to the Legacy Raid section. From there, you look for people forming groups for the Black Temple Time Walking Raid, and while you're waiting, you grab both the quests from Dornegal and Shattrath, and pretty much just AFK wait until the queue pops. After the queue pops, you go through the raid, complete all the bosses, bam, you're good to go. You have a ton of opportunities at 597 gear, which is raid gear equivalent for absolutely free, as well as a automatic 597 piece from your chest and a automatic hot off the press 610 heroic item level loot that can be upgraded all the way up to 626 if you want to. Now, moving on to another side of the spectrum, of course, believe it or not, in the War Within, player versus player can actually be an insane way for you to gear up your character and get 610 item level gear honestly quite effectively. The idea is that you take your conquest points that you earn from, your weekly rated PvP things, your solo queue arenas, solo queue RBGs, whatever it may be, and you convert it into the conquest points Forge Gladiator heraldry at the PvP vendor. With just a few of these, you can guarantee get yourself a 610 piece of loot that you can get crafted for you as well. What I did personally was take these heraldries and crafted actually 2 610 swords that are not only great for PvP on my rogue, but are currently better than a lot of gear out there in the game if you don't get lucky at all like I am. My favorite aspect of it is that it actually didn't even cost me any Valor Stones, which I'm now saving up to upgrade my heroic level gear. I'm not gonna lie, it will cost you some gold to get the tier 2 or tier 3 mats, but you can look up in your guild chat to see if anyone can craft these bad boys and tip them if they want to use some of their concentration to guarantee it at a tier 4 or tier 5. If I was you, I would do it on the pieces of gear that you're stuck on adventurer or veteran level, so you can quickly even out your item level with all the other champion loot that you've acquired so far in the game, to then make your item level look a lot better when you do the brand new content that came out this week, which is Mythic Plus. Now, this is the part of the video what I was talking about earlier, where things get very controversial, so I'm gonna need you to stick with me on what we're talking about and listen closely here. With Mythic Plus finally arriving, we now have the chance to get champion loot very early on in the Mythic Plus key track. From there, all the way up to Mythic Tier 6, you will get guaranteed champion level loot all the way up to level 606. Here's where I actually think players are making a massive mistake in wasting dozens and dozens of hours a week, because I think running Mythics 2 through 6 is actually killing your time and incredibly inefficient. Let me break down how this works. Generally, when you run a Mythic Plus as a solo player, you're either trying to hop in a group or use your own key. If you're trying to hop in a group, it's very important that you show you have a good item level and you've cleared some Mythic dungeons previously. So essentially, it's going to be very difficult to join a group without a portfolio to show for yourself. So at this point, you're kind of forced to boost up your own key, and it's going to take hours and hours to find group mates, hope you complete the dungeon in a decent time, you don't have someone rage quit, lag out, or simply just not be good at the game and constantly die and cost you your key. Here's the problem: the chances of you getting loot in a Mythic Plus at the end at your chest are actually a lot more rare than you'd think. From the dungeons that I've ran so far in the War Within, most of the time, 2 people get a piece of loot at the end, and the other 3 either get extra Valor Stones, 50 gold, or potentially a Warbound piece until equipped if you're really lucky. So the odds of you getting a piece of gear from that dungeon are about roughly a 40% chance. And by the way, that's a 40% chance at something random in that entire dungeon's loot table. In case you're missing the point here, the idea of spending about an hour each dungeon to find a group, complete the key, and then roll a 40% chance of getting a champion loot that could very easily not be for your character or even be an upgrade at all is a huge waste of time. Running keys 2 through 6 is a ginormous time sink that is not good for you, and it only acquires you champion level gear. And this actually leads me to my highly controversial point, and the only reason you should be running Mythic 2 through 6 is if you have a solid group that you can consistently run with, or a guild that has a large community of members to rely on. By doing this, you cut out the time of looking for a group, risk bricking the keys, someone quitting or rage quitting or lagging out, because that is the only time it's efficient to run these. If not, all of the other ways that we've mentioned in this video are 10 times more efficient and is way worth your time than spamming Mythic 2 through 6 if you only have a couple hours to play a day. If you're going to run Mythic Plus dungeons, you run it at a bare minimum of Mythic 7 threshold, because that's when you start getting heroic tier gear at the end, guaranteed. And I don't know about you all, even having the opportunity to get a 610 heroic level piece at this point in the game that can be upgraded is a massive, massive piece of gear that you can get right now. Very, very worth it. Do not run Mythics 2 through 6 unless you're trying to farm Valor Stones or have an efficient group. Only hop into Mythic Plus 7s if that's the option. Moving on to next, another fantastic way of getting guaranteed champion gear, of course, is going to be your tier 8 delves. Now, at this point, isn't the most efficient thing to farm in the game by all means, but the fact that you don't have to rely on anybody else to complete this content makes it very worth it. The idea is that you take your restored coffer keys, go into tier 8 bountiful delves, where yes, you will get a guaranteed 603 champion piece of gear, but we're actually looking for the rare chance at getting the Delver's bounty where you will automatically get a guaranteed 610 heroic item level piece of gear. What's crazy is that a lot of my guildies right now that don't really love to play with other players are actually only doing this if they have a couple hours to play a day. They will simply go into tier 8s, spam them over and over again, and try to fish for one of these Delves treasures. Of course, you can get really lucky and get a lot of these quite often, but if you're like me and you're not that lucky, I've only gotten 2 since the expansion dropped, so you're going to have to just roll the dice and pick your poison if that's the way you want to go. Either way, if you don't have many friends or a community to play with at all, tier 8 Delves are still going to be some of the best options out there after you've done what we've mentioned previously in the video. Not only that, tier 8 Delves are fantastic for getting your weekly Great Vault up, so it's a win-win on both ends. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, of course, there are a couple ways here and there that we've mentioned that can get you some very easy champion gear that can really get boosted up to 619 if you have the currency for it. But then, we also just showed you a couple guaranteed ways you can get heroic gear that can be pushed all the way up to 626, which is absolutely insane. With how much content's available in the War Within and the variety that comes with it, this is probably the easiest it's ever been to get gear in all of World of Warcraft, whether it be from, doing PvP, solo content in Delves, raiding, time walking events, and more. I'm absolutely loving it so far. I hope you are too. Our channel is growing significantly, all thanks to all of our community members such as yourself. I want to give a big shout out to you guys. We absolutely could not do it without you. I want to thank you all so much for watching the video. It's an absolute pleasure to be making content for you all. Until the very end, my name is Sky from the Comeback Kids. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace. Hey, hope you enjoyed the video. Listen, if you guys enjoyed the content, we have a ton of other videos to help you get through the War Within, like these 2 right here. And since you're already here, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button to join the Comeback Kids family today, because every subscriber matters. Thank you all so much for enjoying the video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.